Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis, running backs, groups, positions, grades. That's what we're doing here. 10 straight shows on your YouTube feed, on your podcast feed, covering every part of the Ohio State football team. Bill Landis, you have the lead on the running backs. Are we talking about Nate Roberts as a fullback or no?
No, I did not include him in my analysis of this position because I didn't want to get angry while I did it.
Okay.
There's no offense to Nate Roberts, offense and just to the people who decided he should play fullback.
So then this is primarily a Bo Jackson, CJ Donaldson, Isaiah West conversation. If someone were to ask you right now, Bill Landis, today, if they said, Philly Billy, you're an Ohio State football expert, describe the pecking order / the specific jobs the guys do in the Ohio State running back room. Is there an RB1, an RB2, an RB3? Is there a third down back? Is there a short yardage back? Is there a pass catching back? Like what are these guys?
Bo Jackson is RB1 by himself. He is occasionally spelled on standard downs by Isaiah West, and CJ Donaldson is the third down back. And I would say like third down / short yardage. They actually didn't have, I guess they didn't put Donaldson out there. They never had like any of those like inside the 5, like low red zone runs that Donaldson typically gets against Indiana. But he was doing that against Michigan. He's done that all year. So I would assume he's still in that role. But otherwise, Donaldson only played on third down because he's their best pass protector. So they put him out there when they knew they had to throw the ball.
And when they put him out there in third down, they can check it down to him, but it is more to pass protect, not to be a turbo in space. Let's get the ball to this guy on a swing pass as our primary play on third down.
Yeah, I think he played 13 snaps against Indiana, and he blocked on 12 and caught a check down on the other.
Okay. What a long, strange trip it has been, Bill Landis, to get to this point. And by the way, you did not mention James Peoples, who played a total of 5 snaps against Michigan and Indiana. A lot of excitement after the hurdle, and it was kind of a moment in time that did not really indicate anything.
Yeah, I thought maybe that could be a spark. He also had the what game was it where he had the long touchdown run late? Was that Rutgers?
Maybe, yeah.
He had like a 50-yard touchdown run late in that game. Fourth quarter, James Peoples is a maniac. If you're up by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and you give him the ball, watch out. But it just doesn't can't be replicated in the first 3 quarters of games that matter, unfortunately. So yeah, and he had 1 snap against Indiana, and he got run over in pass protection and got Julian Sain sacked. So I don't know where that leaves him going into the playoff.
Which also is like you can't play 4 backs, and that's okay. It's just difficult to do that. But it is, he had his most carries of the season against Texas. James Peoples did, which is just kind of interesting to think about, that he had 10 carries against Texas and has not hit double digit in carries in any game since, and has not carried the ball at all the last 2 games. A journey where it is now, where the running back room is now, and less about performance, but I'd say more about roles and usage. Did they, given the options, it's like, oh, well, what if they had Ezekiel Elliott? It's like, well, that's not an option. The options that are on the roster, are they in the right place going into the playoff?
Yeah, I think they've got it pretty clearly defined where it needs to be. I guess the one thing that is probably still up for some debate is when they do get into those situations where they're trying to run the ball in short yardage or into low red zone, should that also just be Bo Jackson, or are they going to keep giving it to CJ Donaldson? I guess I don't know that firmly. Because it's not like there was a time where it seemed like CJ Donaldson was getting better at that, and then the Michigan game happened. So I don't know exactly where he stands on that. But yeah, I think there was a lot of sort of fact finding here in the middle of the season to figure out who they should roll with and who should be doing what. And I do think they've at least ironed that part out.
Okay. Who do you want to start with? I feel like the most logical thing is to go through these three primary guys who have roles in the room right now. So who do you want to start with?
Yeah, I'll start with Bo, because I don't think we've talked enough about the fact that he's like 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
He's the 5th running back in program history to run for 1,000 yards as a true freshman, in some pretty good company with Robert Smith, Maurice Claret, J.K. Dobbins, and Travion Henderson. And he's done it, like, don't forget that he didn't play against Texas.
Yep.
And like was not really the main guy until kind of Big Ten play started, and even the first couple games of Big Ten play, it's like we think it's Bo, but he hasn't like really been given the job yet. So he's done this by like sort of being the top guy for kind of half the season. So I think he's been really good this year, and like the numbers I think sort of underscore that, right? Like Ryan Day's been asking for yards after contact all year, and like I don't think it's been consistent really with anybody, but like Bo's over 4. That's kind of where you want to be. I went back over the last couple of seasons, like basically since they took over in 2019, like with the exception of 2023, their lead back has always been 4 yards or better after contact per rush.
Oh, okay.
And Bo's at 4.17 according to PFF, which actually has him 4th among those backs. The best was Henderson last year. Mayan Williams in 2022 is 2nd. Henderson as a freshman in 21 is 3rd, and Bo this year is 4th in terms of yards at the contact. Better than Trey Sermon in 20, better than J.K. Dobbins in 2019, although Dobbins had a much larger workload that year. So, or not 19, 17. No, 19. Yeah, 19. So he's been excellent, I think, for a true freshman. He's the number 2 true freshman rusher in the country, number 1 in Power 4. So like I don't really know what else you could ask from him other than like I think he's got to continue to get the feel for like making safeties miss when he's one-on-one, but he's also gotten better, I think, it's sort of like making guys miss in the hole to turn shorter runs into 3, 4, and 5 yards. I think now he's at the point like, okay, that's good. Can you turn a 12-yard run into a 50-yard touchdown kind of thing? Like that's the one kind of missing component with him still, but everything else I think has been pretty good, including his receiving, which I actually didn't add up, but he's been a good receiver.
Oh yeah. Turbo check down. Yeah. Did you check how many 1,000-yard rushers there are in the country? Don't look if you didn't. Don't look. Okay.
I didn't add them all up.
Make Philly Billy guess. Okay. Overall 1,000-yard rushers in FBS and 1,000-yard rushers then separately in the Power 4. How many?
I'll say like 31 in FBS and 18 in Power 4.
Good. 34 in FBS, 13 in Power 4. And Bo Jackson's one of them.
Yeah.
I did. It got by us, man. What happened?
It really did. Yeah. I mean, well, it happened because he eclipsed 1,000 yards during a loss to Indiana. Same thing with Jeremiah Smith eclipsing 1,000 yards of receiver in a loss. It's like, how much do you really want to celebrate it kind of thing? But yeah, it did get biased. And I think, people have really come to appreciate Bo, but I think he's gone over 100 in like 5 of his last 7 games too. So he's been pretty reliably like a 100-yard or close to it kind of back. And I actually thought he ran pretty well against Indiana. There were some blocking miscues there, and like he had probably 2 runs where he got tackled by the one guy who was there that could have been more explosive plays had that not happened. But I think he's really found a pretty good form here down the stretch and had a great game against Michigan. So I think they've sort of given him more and more as the year has gone on, and I think he's responded well more often than not. And I think there's a lot of belief that he can be kind of their bell cow guy in the postseason.
600-yard rushing games. I think we were having a lot of conversations early about usage. How much is he getting the ball? How much are they going to figure this out? Are they going to get to the end of the season and somehow still think that it's a share of RB1 between Bo Jackson and CJ Donaldson? And what are they doing? Here's his carries in Big Ten games. starting with Washington. 17, 13, 10, 10, 13, 14, 15, 19, 22 against Michigan, 17 against Indiana. 22 for 117 against Michigan, 17 for 83 against Indiana. I think we kind of settled on this at a point in the middle of the season of they know who the number one running back is. They just don't need to or want to give a true freshman 20 carries a game in October because that's not the best way to get to the end of the year. But then they got here in the last two games, and I think he's ready to be a 20 carry a game back in the playoff, and that's what he's been since the Michigan game. And I do think it was arduous to some degree to get to this point, but I think they've probably figured out what they were and what they had in the running back room by about week 6. And then their plan was, let's make sure we have the best version of Bo Jackson at the end of the year. And also he was dealing with a little bit of dinged up stuff, right?
He was, yeah, mid-season. Was it like an ankle or something? I was also just looking because this is an important part of his game too. It's not like he's not a 1,000-yard receiver, but yards from scrimmage per game, he has 103, which is 11th in the Power 4.
Matters.
Good player.
And like
good player.
He's reliable that way, and I think he's very good on checkdowns. That when you throw him a 5-yard pass, he turns and gets to top speed pretty quickly and gets north-south.
Yeah, well, and Ryan Day's talked about this. Like he was a high school receiver, kind of until his last year of high school, and then he got hurt when he was playing running back. He's actually not played a ton of running back. That's what makes like his production to this point like all the more exciting. It's like he's still kind of figuring this out, but he maintained some of that receiver skill set. I actually wonder, again, it's just like we're not football coaches, but like can you have him like run more routes other than just a check down? Maybe, I don't know, maybe he can. Can you put him in the slot, get him matched up against a linebacker and have him run a slant and see what that looks like? I don't know. He's definitely got that to his game. He's got strong hands, I think, too. He's had a couple of those catches like kind of out in space. He's had to like go full extension and snare out of the backfield. So he we all know that everyone Ohio State plays is going to focus on Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. That just leaves a lot sort of on the bone for Jackson or anybody who wants to just kind of like hang out underneath and get a ton of space. So I don't know that I'd be surprised even if we see like an uptick in his receiving production in the postseason.
Can you put this in the living budget of future stuff too?
Mm-hmm.
To go through maybe like the 22 spots or the 22 starters and do like who was a plan, who was a surprise, and who was an accident or something like that, because in the end they went 0 for 2 on their running back plan. Because is it fair to say the running back plan coming into the year was CJ Donaldson and James Peoples as your top 2 guys?
Definitely, yeah.
And is it fair to call that 0 for 2?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And so here we are, and it's like, oh, what are we going to do? It's like, do you guys want to play 2 true freshmen? It's like, okay. And here are Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. And that is quite a thing. And so this is, it's credit to all involved, credit primarily to Bo Jackson and then Isaiah West for being young and preparing their minds and bodies to contribute to a team trying to go back-to-back as national champions for the first time in Ohio State history. What a thing by Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. Credit also to the strength staff and to Carlos Lachlan as position coach and to Ryan Day and everybody involved for having those guys ready. But also, Carlos Lachlan and Ryan Day kind of blew it on what they thought they were going to do after having 2 tremendous running backs last year. And it's like, okay, what do you got now? And they did not do it. And then these other guys saved them. So they got saved here, bro, right? They got saved by the young guys.
Yeah, they did. And I do think there was some anticipation that Bo would emerge at some point this season. It's a position where it's not crazy to expect a true freshman to contribute in a meaningful way. Whether that was, an understanding of what the ceiling of James Peoples was or solely a reflection of what they thought of Jackson coming out of high school. I thought you did sense some buzz about him coming into the program that he could be a guy who kind of breaks out early. But I don't know that they envisioned him being their leading rusher as a true freshman. So yeah,
And
I think
bell
he
cow,
primarily
like
saved them.
year-end bell cow.
Yeah. And I think he definitely saved them. And I think Isaiah West probably did a little bit too. Like West is a little more comparable to Peoples and Donaldson in terms of production, but like on yards per carry, he's significantly better than Donaldson. But some of that is because Donaldson only gets the ball inside the 5. So I think like that trio is more or less the same, I think. But Jackson definitely saved them.
Yeah. Congrats to Bo Jackson. My goodness. What a thing. All right. You want to do Donaldson or West next?
We can do Donaldson. We've talked about him a lot, but
171 carries for 798 yards in 2023 at West Virginia, 163 carries for 734 yards in 2024, 89 carries for 330 yards this year at Ohio State. It's not to criticize the player specifically, but it's a misidentification, and I think Ohio State and a lot of people analyzing it going into the year were just fooling themselves on this. And I just don't. Not every portal guy is Quinshon Judkins, and the portal can be difficult. But as we go into the offseason and think about Ohio State in the portal, there are always going to be some great additions and spectacular hits. But Ethan Onyanwa and CJ Donaldson is quite a thing. And they thought they were getting, I think, a lead back and a left tackle, and they didn't get either. And so we just have to be realistic about that as we, with every portal consideration we have for Ohio State from now on, we have to make sure we factor this kind of stuff in.
Yeah, I think you and I maybe tried to alert people to that at least a little bit when they got him, because like he was dynamic as a freshman and then got hurt and was never the same player again. His yards per carry have gone down every year. His yards after contact have gone down every year, including his years at West Virginia. And then like he comes to Ohio State and they take 20 pounds off of him, which is like good, I guess, if you're going to run differently, but I don't know that he ran any differently. And then when he's not 240, he's like still trying to run through people, and it's just not nearly as effective as it was at West Virginia. So, I still think he has something to offer them in short yardage as potentially like a blocking back. Like if you want to talk about the fullback stuff, I know we made a joke about it at the start of this. I'd much rather see CJ Donaldson do that stuff than Nate Roberts. It's not a guarantee it'd be better, but I think it would stand a chance to, because you have to have a running back skill set to do that well. And CJ Donaldson at least has that, and he's got some size to him still, even if he did lose quite a bit of weight from what he played at West Virginia. But I think like definitely outsized expectations for him. And I think if you bothered to just like sort of pay attention to his trajectory at West Virginia, that probably would have cooled those expectations somewhat significantly. But even that being said, I still think they've not gotten nearly what would have been a reasonable expectation out of CJ Donaldson either. He just does not, unless he's running in short yardage, he has not given them a lot. And he is by far the worst at making guys miss and creating stuff after contact, which is like kind of remarkable given his size compared to the rest of the room.
Do you think they could put 20 pounds on CJ Donaldson by New Year's and turn him into a playoff fullback?
There are multiple Raising Cane's locations around the Columbus area that I think could help get that done. Yeah.
Yeah. Operation Playoff Fullback.
Yeah.
And they just like a big sign in the Woody is like feed CJ. And it's like one of those, it's not like feed Zeke where it's like, give me the ball. It's like, no, literally feed CJ.
No, literally every time you see him, give him a snack.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a Snickers. And it's just, it's how football works. Even the best programs don't hit on every player, but it's just like, we also can't pretend that a program like Ohio State hits on every player. So the difference, I honestly do think, right, the main difference between a program like Ohio State and maybe like a good but not great program is when you put yourself out on a limb for something like this, you can miss and recover. and that Bo Jackson and Austin Sareveld as making up for misses here with what they've done. I think at other schools, if you go out on a limb for a guy and it doesn't work, you probably don't have a plan B that is going to look like a plan A. And Austin Sareveld at left tackle and Bo Jackson as RB1 are plan Bs that absolutely have played like plan As. And that's what being Ohio State is all about. But I think it's possible that even sometimes the greatest programs can get hurt there. So it's like people are still learning in the portal. So I don't know. I think
that's why Ohio State wants to be more of a high school recruiting team, right? Because you want to be able to not have all of your eggs in the particular basket. Like it even happened with Oregon this year, right? They thought they were getting a RB1 in Mekhi Hughes, and he never saw the field, but they had guys that they had recruited and developed out of high school who were ready to take over. And it's like you want to have those contingency plans that just don't exist if you're only ever bringing in guys out of the portal.
Yeah. Oregon might have the best running attack in the playoff, and their RB1 didn't play a snap. But Mekhi Hughes was like arguably the biggest running back get in the portal, right? Maybe Justice Haynes at Michigan and Mekhi Hughes at Oregon were like the two.
I think Haynes was first and Hughes was second. Yeah.
But then also it's like, then Michigan got Justice Haynes. It's like, what happened there? It's like, he was great. And then when he got hurt, they missed him. So like, I mean, it's hard because the portal gets so much attention, but the portal is not automatically a magical solution to all of your problems. And Ohio State knows that. I think mostly I'm talking to us, like all of us out here, just don't automatically assume that the portal is the magical solution to everything, because but then at a place like Ohio State, there often is just a high school guy that you've been developing who's actually sitting there ready to help solve problems also. So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there were good. I actually didn't know Ahmad Hardy is a transfer. I didn't know that.
Oh.
ULM to Missouri.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
All-American. Congrats to him.
So like you can find them for sure, but
yeah.
Hardy was the 6th ranked running back in the portal. Donaldson was 10th.
Okay.
It doesn't look like a lot of the top 10 guy. Like Haynes hit, Hardy hit, but Wayshawn Parker was good at Utah, but they didn't all hit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And what do you think about Isaiah West? So let's go to your Philly fella.
Yeah, well, he's from New Jersey, unfortunately. So we dock points there for that.
Yeah.
He I like him. He's pretty physical. Like he's actually the guy I wouldn't mind getting more short yardage. Like I think he runs really hard. I think he kind of like bounces. He like bounces off of. He just runs with and he like understands this about himself. Like he's not going to shake 3 guys out of their shoes and run for 70 yards. He's going to run as hard as he can for 3.
Yeah.
I hope that he can run through you and turn that 3 into 7. Which like I appreciate about him. So like I just there's some velocity to the way that he runs that I like enjoy watching. So I wonder, and he's like 210 pounds. Like he's not a small running back. I think maybe he could give them a little something in short yardage too if they wanted to give him those opportunities. I like him as a compliment to Jackson. He and Peoples, like at least statistically, are similar. Actually, Peoples is a little better in some areas, but I don't know. There's something about West that just feels a little more consistent and reliable.
Yeah.
And some of Peoples like averages are helped by him, scoring a couple long garbage time touchdowns. I think like sort of in the throes of the game, West has looked a little more reliable than Peoples has. So I like West as a guy that like, maybe gets 5 or 6 carries a game to spell Bo Jackson. And I don't think it'd be unreasonable to see if he could be your short yardage guy and maybe be a little more efficient at it than CJ Donaldson has been.
Yeah. And again, like his just like he came on in the second half of the year. They didn't use him. in the first half of the year, and then 9 for 55 against Wisconsin, 9 for 60 against Purdue, 8 for 61 against UCLA, 8 for 48 against Rutgers, 6 for 20 against Michigan, only 3 carries for 4 yards against Indiana, but they're just shortening rotations when you get to this stuff. But I thought from the minute he got on the field, he popped pads in a way that it felt early on. Part of the issue with Peoples and Donaldson was like they just were trying to, they weren't assertive with the way they ran. Right. And that it felt like they were just for whatever reason, maybe they're trying to be too perfect or I don't know what. And then they just put in the freshmen, and then freshmen were like, okay, I don't know, just run straight ahead as hard as you can. And I think it changed the vibe in the room for everybody involved. I think James Peoples has acknowledged that. So like that, I think there's something about those guys. And I do, I think Isaiah West, and it's again, you don't want to get out over your skis. And it's like, oh, James Peoples, like what he showed as a freshman, they can rely on him in year 2. And it didn't. I don't want to be here in a year being like, man, I don't know why Ohio State thought Isaiah West could be co-RB1. Like, but he is like Bo Jackson is at the moment like a man of few words, and Isaiah West is a man of many words. And I think like he is, I like them. He's talking about like Bo and Isaiah seem like they're good friends. Bo and Zay. Isaiah West actually gives me a little bit of like a Brandon Ennis vibe, that I think he could be like just a guy who was really influential in the fabric of the program, but maybe isn't like the best player on the field, but you're glad he's on the team and he does play. And I just think maybe Isaiah West could be RB2 for 4 years.
Yeah, I kind of think that too. Yeah.
Which is, they want an RB2, and an RB2 at Ohio State and at most good programs now has a real role. So he's not your best guy, but he matters. He plays. He's good, but he also is a little bit of your heartbeat. And he feels like that kind of guy, kind of like you, Philly Billy.
Well, heartbeat. I think, and he's not. I believe he was hurt too, in his high school senior season, and like didn't do spring ball. So I view Jackson and West both as guys who could make pretty big jumps. Like already look good now, but could make significant jumps. Like I don't know how far apart the ceilings are. Like I would imagine Jackson's ceiling is probably a decent amount higher than West's, but I think West's ceiling is higher than like a replacement level running back too. Like I think that's could be a pretty solid tandem for the next couple of years, even if it's defined as Jackson as RB1 and West as RB2. Okay.
So what do you think the future of this position is? What do you think this looks like in 26 and 27?
I think it's like similar to the receiver conversation, unless there's just like a guy who's really good who emerges as an opportunity. I think they might move forward with what they have. Now, I guess the question with that is like if 2 current true freshmen have ascended to the top of the room, then what happens to the guys behind them? So you might have to go into the portal to bring in like some running back depth. They're bringing in one high school guy we know for sure in Favor Aki. They could be bringing in another with Legend Bay. We have to see how all that kind of shakes out, that kind of unfortunate situation. But like, I don't know. Let's be like frank about it. Like, do James Peoples and Sam Dixon stick around if there's two guys who are younger than them already ahead of them in the pecking order? I don't think anybody would be surprised if the answer to that was no. So then you probably do have to go to the portal to at least bring in like another body in. But I don't know that Ohio State's going to be out like portal shopping for a top tier running back this offseason. I think they feel pretty good about what they have.
They probably don't have to go get a CJ Donaldson.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Because they had to get, I mean, it's just the way the situation's worked out with only James Peoples coming back and then true freshmen, you had to go get somebody in the portal this year that you thought could play. So, you know, that's more a result of like previous recruiting and guys who left and like that kind of thing than anything else. So like the idea of like, oh man, what did they do? This CJ Donaldson thing didn't work out the way they expected. Like, well, they had to do it. They were kind of backed into a corner with that a little bit, because you could have not come into this season be like James Peoples and one of the young guys. It's like, that's not a plan at running back for a national championship contender. So it turned out that the young guys were ready, but you couldn't have not have assumed that.
The other sort of dynamic at play there is the highest ranked running back in the class last year was Turbo Rogers.
Yep.
He hasn't been healthy. Like I don't know really like what he is, how they view him. He's been on the availability report for most of the year, meaning like he's just not been able to play. So we've not talked about him at all. Maybe that's a guy we can try to get a little more information about when we have the full team media days when we get to Dallas. But like that's another like kind of wild card in the entire situation. But like he was looking at the composite, he was a top 100 player
Yeah.
in the composite rankings coming out of Alabama. So he could be a factor as well next year.
Yeah. And that's just one of those. It's like, oh, you have 3 running backs in the class. Are they all going to stay and share the load equally? A third their entire career? It's like, no, that's not how that's going to work out probably. So like you just, it's great. You have options. 2 out of 3 hit already. And the one who didn't because he's hurt. Okay. Like that's congratulations. Like great job, Carlos Loughlin. Great job, Ohio State with the guys you identified in this class. So, okay.
That's probably a good, like it's worth maybe like saying that a little more. Like Carlos Loughlin, I think, did a pretty good job with the high school class, right? Like
yes, and recruiting and development to get these 2 guys ready, but also to identify them.
Yeah, which is like how like Tony Alford brought in some really good guys, but then had some cycles too where it's like it doesn't feel like you have a plan here. I think Loughlin did a pretty good job of like kind of like his first full class, and if his second class is Favor Aki and Legend Bay, like that's a pretty good follow-up class too.
Yeah. No, and that is, I just, even at a place like Ohio State, it's just hard to get any first-year college kid ready to do something, and Carlos Loughlin got 2 of them ready and identified 2 guys who had the skill and the gumption and the personality to be prepared to play college football at the highest level as true freshmen.
Yeah.
What do you think the subscribers, 1 to 100, 1 is bad, 100 is great? What do you think the subscriber vote was for grading the running back room?
80.
74.
I've been off on these. Okay.
I always write my thing down and then I get influenced by whatever you say. Are you going to be mad if I say 80?
No,
that's why I make you guess. It's like, guess what the subscribers get. Well, coincidentally, Bill, your guess is exactly what I said. I had 78, but then it's like he's one of 13.
That's what I had. I had 78.
78, but now the idea that Bo Jackson is one of 13 power conference running backs with 1,000 yards, and that Carlos Loughlin got 2 true freshmen ready to contribute, and CJ Donaldson is a nice veteran presence in the room, even if he didn't work out as like a co-RB1. And I think they got to the point where this is a definitely functional running back room for the playoff. This team is not going into the playoff being like, I don't know about this room. I think they feel pretty good about it. So I'm going to give him an 80.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at 78, and a lot of that is Bo. Like, he deserves all the credit in the world. I think like as a room, they're probably not quite as dynamic as they should be for an Ohio State running back room, and I think a lot of that can be explained by the fact that they're just young. But the turning efficient runs into explosive runs like is still an ongoing process, and I definitely took some points off the board because of that. They're like the Sports Info Solutions has a percentage broken tackles plus missed tackles forced per attempt. Ohio State is 89th in the country. So like they want to be better than that, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think like that's the most obvious area for improvement, but it's still been pretty good. Like I think there was a time like mid-season where we were unsure of what exactly this would look like, and I think because of Bo Jackson's emergence, I think you can feel pretty good about the position group going into the playoff.
I agree. All right. That's our running back breakdown. We'll continue to do this. We appreciate you guys rolling with us and letting us hang out with you and talk some football. Go see our Substack, BillAndDougOSU.substack.com for now. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.